Omar, how are you?
Hey, doing great. Looks like everybody's getting some ass today.
Let's go. About Tesla, what percent of the fleet has it now?
Well, gas is specifically going to about 3% of the fleet in the US and Canada right now. So that's m- the biggest wave went out this morning. So it's the second wave so far. So there was one wave yesterday and the second bigger one today. So it's close to 3%. Uh, so hopefully it will go wide before the end of this week.
Okay, good. Yeah, Omar, that's can you tell us more about the radius that's getting bigger?
Yeah, this is the biggest ass we've seen yet. It really is truly something to see. It can now go up to 280 feet. That just makes it more useful because you can start it from further away, and clearly the software has improved enough that it's justified. So you can now activate it from even further away, and it can drive even further driverlessly. So, what we're going to see over the coming months and years is this circle getting bigger and bigger until it covers the whole country and the whole world.
What do you think allowed them to increase this radius?
Well, they just made it up. Okay. What I need everyone to understand when they look at actually Smart Summon driving in the parking lot is that there is nothing that prevents it from driving out of that parking lot without a driver and continuing. From a software perspective, these limits are entirely artificial, right? They want to limit it to within a parking lot. They want people to not use it on city streets. So they've kind of put this artificial limitation on distance, and it's just purely to limit it to parking lots. In terms of what the software can do, it can really drive anywhere. And I think so many people just have a hard time believing that hardware 3, for example, will be driverless. Just stand on the outside or sit in the back seat and watch it drive without you in the driver's seat. It's very much possible, and it does a pretty good job today.
Yoda.
Hey Omar, I think that's a great point. Two questions. Is there any technical communication barriers from the owner or in the future rider to call that or to summon that car from much farther away? And two, um, a lot of videos on parking lot summon. How does it work for, say, like a 3D multi-level parking lot, or let's say summoning from more of a residential driveway, etc.?
Omar?
How far is it away from driverless?
Yeah, basically, oh, sorry, two questions. So one is, is there any technical, specifically communications barriers for why someone can't summon from really far away and therefore essentially hailing from really far away, just from a phone to car communication perspective? And two, a lot of videos on summon in sort of flat parking lots. Does it work for multi-level and or residential environments?
Well, it does work in parking garages. Obviously, I think it's better when you're outside, but I have tried it in closed parking garages and it does work. So, you know, there's no technical reason why that code has to be there. They could just remove it and it could drive anywhere without a driver. But the reason they don't is twofold. One, regulatory. There isn't a approved legal framework to do that. If they had for example, a level 4 permit, they could possibly do that. but they don't have that yet. So there's a regulatory reason. And two, technical, if you had the car go out and do that, it would crash into things, and it would crash into things at a rate far greater than a human. And this would obviously be a safety issue. So that's the other reason they're not doing it. As the miles per intervention falls below human level, and as they receive regulatory approval, they just turn that line of code off that says, hey, you can only drive 264 feet, and then it can drive around without a driver.
About Tesla?
Are you still required to keep the car in the view of sight, or can you now do this through the app? Is that just a second option, or is it still required to have it within the view?
Yeah, I definitely encourage everyone to read the owner's manual. You've got an owner's manual app on your Tesla as well as the physical booklet. It has a little blurb about every feature on your car. You can learn a lot from reading the owner's manual. It is boring, but even if you're an experienced Tesla owner, there's stuff in there. So one of the things it says there is, look, this is still a supervised system. Even though it's driverless, you still need to monitor it, and you should keep the car within your line of sight. You shouldn't let it just drive around where you can't see. And you should use the Sentry cameras that pop up on your phone while you're using it. So while you're using it, sometimes you can kind of see it. Maybe you don't have the best view. Sentry Cam can help make sure you've got a good view of everything. And all you have to do is lift your finger up to sort of intervene and stop it. So make sure it's within your view. However, I have used it a few times where I couldn't fully see it when it was making a turn, and it just did the right thing. But don't do that. Watch it carefully. Use the Sentry Cam. If something happens, let's say it runs over a curb or runs over a cat or even hits somebody, you're going to be liable. So Tesla's not going to pay to fix your car. We're going to see tweets this weekend. Oh my God, FSD curved my rims. Tesla, you owe me new rims. No, you need to make sure that you don't curb your rims. Sorry. That's, not how it works, unfortunately. So pay close attention. Don't let your car hit anything. Don't be the viral news story that every, media organization is dying to write about this.
Omar, you're getting quite a few compliments in YouTube live chat right now. Thomas says, everyone should speak like Omar. Would make it easy to catch up at 2x speed. And Hustle Town says his public speaking is crazy good. Omar is secretly GPT-5 Omni. Omar, are you AI?
Not that I know of, but were the replicants aware that they were AI? I guess not.
Mm-hmm. Just a house cleaning item. I'm noticing a huge correlation between number of likes for the video and the performance of the video, including views, engagement, ad revenue. So it really helps to like the video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a like. And if you're listening in X, please scroll to the top of your screens. There's a link at the top. Click on it and like the video. It really helps a lot. About Tesla, go ahead.
So just clarify the question I had. Since most of us don't have this version yet and don't have it in the manual, does Tesla formally allow you to look at the screen versus looking at the car directly when using the S? So is it okay? Is it enough to just look at the screen on the app, or do you have to physically see it in the view? So that's an important, and I was wondering if they clarify that in the manual or in the warnings on the screen.
The manual says you need to keep the car within your line of sight and watch it. Now, if you want to use it in your empty office parking lot without looking, you can even close your eyes. They're not going to be able to stop you. But if you want to protect your car, you should probably use it as the manual advises.
still not clear whether the app is enough to look at according to Tesla, or
No,
it's not
no,
enough.
it's not enough. According to Tesla, the app is an aid, right? So they're not going to stop you from using the feature however you like, but they recommend keeping your car within the line of sight and watching it.
Okay, great. We have a lot to talk about today. Omar Machine yesterday pitched an idea to short Tesla to my audience at 270. Can you believe it? I mean, this guy not only doesn't have hardware 3, but as a result of that cluelessness, he's telling people to short Tesla. What do you think about that? Actually, before that, Yoda, would you like to give a shout out to your sponsors?
Yeah. Thank you to my sponsors, Tesla Shorts, for helping long-term investors like myself and others generate generational wealth. Unfortunately, today there are no coupon codes, but stay tuned.
Okay. So in absence of Machine, let's talk about him. What do you think about shorting at 270?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it you might make money on a trade like that or not, but I've always said for the last several months since the beginning of the summer that this is a $300 plus stock, or it should be, if you properly valued in the earnings that are going to come from the international launch of just FSD supervised. And really, it becomes clear that the AI revolution has led to self-driving being solved. LLMs, essentially, and other advances in AI that we've seen, generative AI, have led to us for the first time having the tools to self-driving being solved. So it's not even really about Elon Musk being a genius or the Waymo team being a genius. Some problems can't be solved until the right tools emerged, and the right tools have now emerged. So self-driving is going to work. It's going to be better than human. And Tesla is the company that is really poised to take advantage of that. They have really a place in this ecosystem where we need to bring ChatGPT into the real world. ChatGPT can tell you all about all the characters on Dragon Ball Z, but it can't go make you a sandwich. It can't go get your dry cleaning. It can't go pick up your kids from school. So AI hasn't extended into the real world. And FSD supervised is really the first product where AI is reaching into the real world in ordinary people's cars. Long story short, you look at the rate environment, you look at, China, some stimulus in that market as well. You look at some new products coming down the line. Tesla has always been a dangerous company to short, and many, many people have been burned doing it.
Yeah.
Some of the most brilliant shorts in history, people like Jim Chanos, who brought down Enron, their firms are now shut down because of their Tesla shorts.
Yeah. Let's, you talked about autonomy in the real world. FSD is the first step. And the second step is going to be Optimus, and even more major step, I think. We also have news that Johnny Ive is working with Sam Altman to create hardware for OpenAI. Do you think, and we have Yoda on the board too, so it's a good time to maybe talk about this a little bit. Do you think they're going to compete with Optimus? What kind of hardware do you think they're working on?
Yeah, I don't think it's really going to be a robot that OpenAI is working on. We're probably looking at something more like an Alexa. There have been a lot of people who've been trying to reimagine the user interface, the computer user interface for the AI age. And it's clear we're going through a dramatic shift. A lot of the early products we've seen, like, for example, the AI pin and what was that thing, the Panda or something like that, um, have been really bad products, right? You have these Marques Brownlee reviews that have just, said these products are horrible, that have really sort of gone viral. But a lot of people are looking at this, and absolutely, I think the UI is going to be reinvented. So I think Johnny Ive is really trying to answer the question with OpenAI, what comes after the phone? If there's a really intelligent conversational assistant who really assists you and understands you truly and can have the capabilities of your phone, you might not even need a phone UI. You might just be able to talk to it like talking to somebody on the phone. So that is, I think really an incremental, sustaining innovation. Humanoid robotics, or really general purpose robotics, a general purpose machine that can automate many different tasks the way a human can. It's like we're standing in 1970 or 1980 at the birth of the personal computer market, and most people still kind of have no clue what's coming, but a lot of people who are in tech, in the AI industry, are seeing this and saying, this is the formation of $1 trillion market. So imagine being there before computers and having a chance to invest in Apple, right? And look at where Apple is today and what the stock was at in 1970 or 1980 before the Macintosh. That, I think, it's actually even greater than personal computers. So who's going to win in the robotics market? It's too early to call winners yet. We don't have a lot of products actually for sale, but a lot of people are looking at this and saying, this is a legitimate new $1 trillion market that's emerging, comparable to really nothing we've seen in our lifetime except maybe the birth of the personal computer.
Okay. Let's go to Yoda and get his thoughts about the partnership between Johnny Ive and Sam Altman. And what kind of hardware do you think they're working on? Omar said maybe reimagining something like Alexa. And if you're on YouTube live chat, please take a moment to reply in the chat, share your thoughts, and let's see if there's anything that comes out of the live chat that we can read in here. Yoda?
Yeah, the interesting thing about a stationary device that has a camera that's looking at everyone in the room is that then the people in the room do not need to wear any devices to tap into conversations. Um, Now, of course, people probably roam around their house, places of work, public places, restaurants, etc. And so if you have enough of these um, big brother devices, you can probably get into a very dystopian world very quickly. So um, I think rather than that, Sam is probably working on something closer, something more personal, like a phone type device. Um, I don't think they're working on a humanoid just yet because you need to have some devices that pay the bill pays the bills that get you to the humanoid. And I think phone hasn't been disrupted for so long, and it's what obviously Johnny Ives, has been known to do at Apple. And so it would seem like the next iteration of a phone that is AI built from the ground up would be my best guess.
But if they were working about for a, if they were working to create next version of a phone, why would OpenAI partner with Apple?
Well, I think Sam is a sneaky person, I think. So why not work with, Apple and learn everything about integrating AI natively into a phone?
Okay, so let's read some of these comments from live chat. Steve Steranka says, Alexa type device is a good bet. I'd guess headphones, AirPod type of device with the goal of a portable device. Phone is a high risk category. Steve, if you could please elaborate on what you mean by high risk category, I would appreciate that. And Matt Sanko says, a wearable, something to compete with Vision Pro. I like the idea of a helmet for better weight distribution, and because I think the future is heading for dystopia. Omar, you said an Alexa type of device. Does that mean it's going to center at the home, or do you think people will be able to carry it around?
They may be able to carry it around. It may have a screen. I don't know what they're working on, but it's easy to imagine that it could be a reinvention of the phone or of the computing interface for a new era. I mean, that's what Johnny Ive is famous for, right? He's the guy who designed breakthrough products like the MacBook, the iPhone, really taking computing to new form factors. And I think he and Sam want to do it together. You know, Johnny Ive has now left Apple. He has his own design firm called With Love. So it makes sense. Sam Altman's got a big checkbook that they would talk. I think, you know, Sam and his ego probably loved the idea of working with Johnny Ive. He probably wants to be Steve Jobs a little bit. And that probably makes him happy. Whether this product will actually be a success or what it'll be, we'll have to see. But with names like OpenAI and Johnny Ive, we're going to be talking about it when it launches.
I'm going to go to Yoda to get his thoughts as well. Steve clarifies in live chat, phone is a highly capital intensive versus market competition against established brands. And also a quick shout out for Matt Stanko for becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Yoda?
Yeah, I think maybe like one way to think about it is what would be the best device that captures the most context, the richest context of anyone's day. Now, currently that could be the phone because it's got access to photos, you're taking pictures, it's got your emails, it's got your texts. And so all that provides the AI the best context, the richest information at the time of inference. And so, could that be, glasses? Could that be other form factors? Maybe, but maybe your watch, for example, doesn't, capture all your emails, right? And so that wouldn't be the best, the most ideal, device. And so that's why, I think it's going to be between a phone like device or like a glasses type device. um, but the phone seems like a more sort of mature area. There's billions of them out there. That's prime for disruption.
In live chat, Johnny FSD Bull says it needs to be a wearable. Holding a phone is a bit primitive. I agree. I agree with that comment. Yeah, this is really interesting. Omar, do we have any details about any rumors, any details you may have heard about the timeline for this device?
No idea.
Okay. Do you think this is something Tesla investors should worry about?
Not more than any other consumer electronics device.
Okay. So you don't think Sam Altman is necessarily competing with Tesla? It is more competition maybe for Grok and XAI versus Tesla. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think that he's competing with Tesla. I mean, Tesla obviously is selling cars, selling FSD, selling robots. This is probably more of a competition for what Apple sells rather than what Tesla sells.
I mean, I would have agreed with you with that last statement if Sam Altman hadn't partnered with Apple for the iPhone. Like, if Apple saw that coming, why would they help him develop better models of ChatGPT? Yoda?
Well, I think again, if you look at Sam's history, it isn't he doesn't have the cleanest records in terms of stealing things or pivoting things from nonprofits to for profits, getting in bed with Microsoft, who, okay, I'm going too far here. But I wouldn't discount that to potentially zero. How do you topple Apple? You don't topple Apple with a Alexa device, right? The volume just isn't there. You need volume at billions, right, to displace Apple, and I think it's a huge market. I know it's a little pedestrian, but I mean we all have one in our pockets still.
Okay, we have more things to talk about, but Omar, any final comments?
Yeah, I don't think Apple considers Sam Altman a threat in that way, that they would that it would affect their decisions at all. So they really are doing a pretty surface level ChatGPT integration just to be able to kind of check that box and say, hey, we have some AI. But I don't think that they consider this effort to be a threat to their business in any meaningful way. There's a lot of people shipping a lot of consumer electronics products, and Apple has obviously done very well for themselves. So I doubt that Apple management is losing sleep over this at night and thinking we need to cut the deal with OpenAI because they're going to have some great device that's going to kill the iPhone.
Okay, great. We have a report by AMCI testing on FSD. They came out with a PDF. I'm going to ask Omar to address that in a second. But before that, quick shout out for our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Tesla Live, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And because you're part of the Tesla Live community, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live for a special discount. Thank you, Joa, for sponsoring the Tesla community. And Paymore. Paymore buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Pay More revolution. Visit one of their 100+ stores near you or visit paymore.com to get paid more for your old electronics. Okay. Omar, have you seen this report by AMCI testing, which I've never heard about them before, but I looked through their website quickly. They seem to be a third-party independent tester. They made some claims about FSD, that they tested FSD and they had more than 75 disengagements. Have you read the PDF?
No, I haven't looked at it yet.
Has anyone on the board gotten a chance to look at it? None. Okay, JC?
Yeah, I took a look at that article. I don't know if they had any detail behind the support, but some of the statistics they had in there is just wholly inconsistent with what I'm seeing. Now, granted, they, obviously are going to be in a different geography from me, but they talked about like 75 to 80 interventions over 1,000 miles. And I mean, that's like a completely different. I mean, they took it to Mars or something. I don't get it. And so, I responded to your post, Yaman, like, well, hey, I've driven the exact same amount of miles in the last 30 days. I've had a grand total of 3 interventions, and one of those is because I forced it into a gauntlet. And I've videoed and uploaded every single mile of that. And so I wonder, are there any videos of their interventions? And I'm just going to presume there isn't. So I I don't know. I don't know how far to take. I don't know. I take that with a grain of salt. Anytime somebody starts, especially statistics like that, I've heard bears not even throw out numbers like that. And that there's no video to to at least show us what happened. I I'm just going to be very. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I looked through I'm going to go to Hustletown in a second. And if you're on live chat, please, if you've read the report or viewed their YouTube channel, they have a YouTube channel as well. I don't know if there's a video of their testing on the YouTube channel. I don't know why there wouldn't be. So I'm going to review that maybe after this episode ends. But this is something we talked about yesterday in yesterday's episode. That on 1010, if Tesla can share some data on the performance of FSD to back up their claim that it's improved 3x, that would go a long way with investors and maybe customers, because a lot of people just discount what Elon says, what Tesla says, because they're seen as biased. So that's why I think this AMCI testing report caught some traction. And Hustletown, did you get a chance to read it?
Yeah, I read it, and I also when I got down there, they had a link to the videos. The videos were like in super view zoom, so you really couldn't. And then sometimes they had the like what the vision of the car sees. Sometimes they had it, sometimes they didn't, and they were praising it a little bit, and then they would praise and then immediately go to a disengagement of some sort. And it was like you really couldn't tell if the driver was in a position that really needed a disengagement, but they felt they needed to anyway. With this third party thing, I think they would have to understand how Tesla is testing it to really get an accurate view. I'd rather watch Omar Dirty Tesla or AI Driver, because you get a comprehensive look, and whatever they're saying, you can also get a grander view of what is actually happening in the real world. And sometimes you're like, I wouldn't have intervened there, but you don't get an idea when you're watching the videos from this group.
Omar?
Yeah, I just went ahead and read the press release and checked out their website. And I think this is great. They're starting to do independent testing, and anyone can do this. They can test it independently. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And hopefully they'll continue to track it, see if it improves. Um, I haven't watched their videos yet to see what kind of issues they're seeing. When, somebody says, okay, we have this level of miles per intervention, um, it does kind of stick out to me in terms of 75 times if they're testing it in the Los Angeles area. I'm in the same area, and I think it's probably 1,000 miles plus for safety critical interventions in my experience. So I'll have to watch their videos. The big question is, what counts as an intervention, right? So is a minor infraction an intervention? Is it, oh, it got too close? And what kind of miles? So are they trying really hard things on purpose, right? To try and stump the system? That could lead to a higher rate of miles per intervention than what you would see driving naturally. Or so I really just need to look at what the issues are. But these guys seem legit. They seem to be an independent company. And they admit that it is impressive. They say it's undeniable that it's impressive for the vast array of human-like responses it does achieve, especially for a camera-based system. The other thing that I would think about is, this testing was conducted on FSD 12.5.1 and 12.5.3, which were not wide released versions. And they were not wide released for a reason, which is that, sometimes when you have this new model, there's a big leap in capabilities, but you still need to sort of find some of the issues the model has before it goes wide. So I would encourage them to maybe, try it again as 12.5.4 goes wide, especially as a version is on more than 50% of the fleet. That really indicates that it's kind of the polished version that's worth testing. But I don't think that these guys are, trying to be dishonest. Maybe they are going for the headline grab a little bit there, but I'm excited that people like them are testing it, and they're going to continue to test it. And I believe you're really going to see a big improvement. And this has been so much of the argument. Is it getting better? Is it not getting better? How much better is it getting? The great thing is we can actually measure it. We can have multiple independent companies measuring it and testing it. And although you may say, okay, is this representative of the fleet, their tests will be consistent with each other. So if they continue to run the test the same way, consistent with their previous test, I believe you are going to see the extent of the improvement.
Okay, good. Yeah, those are my exact thoughts as well. I 100% agree with you. I think overall it's a good. I mean, the first thing I did was kind of check what these guys are, look through their LinkedIn profiles, look through the company. This company, testing company, seems to be around for 3 decades, and look through their chief of technology and everything. So that all looked good, and I think it's a positive sign that there's increased attention on FSD, especially from a data perspective. So not only we have hundreds of people testing on and posting videos on YouTube and elsewhere, but now also we have the FSD tracker, we have AMCI testing, and there's going to be many, many more third-party testers of this thing, of FSD, and we're going to be able to get a better idea of how it's progressing. But Omar, you're always going to be my favorite tester. Yoda, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point. We will come third-party independent testings, but it's also important to do your own research. And I think in addition to interventions, one should also look at the drive experience in between interventions. Intervention is very important, but it would be like, evaluating the advancement of a basketball player by looking at turnovers. It's true that they could have similar turnovers game over game, year over year, but that their skill sets are actually improving in between. That's very noticeable, but it won't show up in just the metric of turnovers.
Hustle Town.
Yeah, when I was reading the article, I mean, obviously they're amazed as anybody would be, but I have a feeling a few people like Dan O'Dowd might cherry pick some of these comments that they have in this article, which could be damning to the progress. That if you're lackadaisical, or just the fact that the car performs so well in some areas, then in an instant, if you're not paying attention, you could be involved in an accident. But I mean, it's supervised for a reason. Some of their verbiage kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I agree with everything that we need more third party testing. I just wish we had more of a standard.
Well, frankly, they're right. People could be fooled into thinking, oh, in your first 5 minutes, wow, it's doing everything. And you may not realize that it actually can make a mistake that could ruin your life.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So
what they're saying is very important.
Omar, I can tell you're using your new iPhone 16. Is it Pro?
I'm using the new iPhone, and I've got a 5 gigabit up and down Wi-Fi connection.
No, it's your microphone is really excellent. I mean, there's a noticeable change from the 15, which was already good. Is it iPhone 16 Pro Max?
No, just the regular Pro.
Just the regular Pro. Do you so you've had it for about 24 hours, right? 24, 48 hours. How do you like it?
It's exactly the same as the iPhone 15 Pro. They made it a little bit bigger, they put the new chip. The difference is almost imperceptible. Except there's a camera button. Sometimes you hit the button accidentally now. But I question my own intelligence that I bought this. But I just buy it because they make little improvements. It makes it sound a little better. It makes the videos look a little better. And people have to watch them. People have to listen to me. So pretty much every product Apple makes, I just buy it. I even have a Vision Pro.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell the microphone difference, and I heard the microphone is supposed to be better on the 16. The 15 had a big step up on speakers, which was like immediately noticeable to me when I got mine. But I'm not going to upgrade to 16. The hardware change seems to be minimal. But yeah, I'm surprised that they were able to improve your sound quality, which was already really good. Yoda?
How's the sound quality on my iPhone 6?
Sucks. Are you going to get to 16?
Here is the iPhone that I'm gonna get. Okay, and I hope Johnny and Sam is building this one. I like to have a foldable iPhone. Two screen is enough. We don't need to go three. Whereby it's one of the screens is dedicated to AI. All right. So let's say if it's running ChatGPT or what have you, it is able to observe my other screen. So it's always able to make recommendations, suggestions on whatever the application is, making my schedules, reminding me of my meetings, etc. Uh, that that would be ideal, in my opinion.
Omar, why do you think they went with a camera button, an exclusive dedicated camera button? Because Apple doesn't take these major changes to hardware lightly. They probably have a 5-year roadmap for this button. What do you think they're going to do with it?
I think, well, first of all, there's a big wave of actually smart summon going out for hardware 3 and hardware 4, so that's good to see. But I tweeted that every time Tim Cook adds a new button to the iPhone, Steve Jobs rolls in his eye grave. Because this guy, he said, get rid of all the buttons. We're doing a phone, one big screen, no buttons, right? You literally go back to the iPhone presentation. He said, what's the problem? You have these buttons and you can't go back and make a change later. If you think of a great idea, you can't ship it. The buttons are fixed. They're just in place. And well, they kind of removed all the buttons. Now they're out of ideas. They're saying, hey, let's add some buttons back in. Last year, it was the action button, a button that does, whatever you want it to. Oh, cool, a button. Now they got the camera button. You can kind of swipe on it or click it to get to the camera. Is it really that necessary? No, but it's probably the biggest change on the device is they added that button. They couldn't think of anything else. So Apple used to be a company that shipped a product that changed your life, completely changed the way you lived. Oh, now you've got a computer in your pocket. Now you can do all this stuff. Now they seem to be completely out of ideas. The best thing they can think of is, hey, let's put a button on the side that opens the camera.
Yoda. Before Yoda, I want to read a couple of the comments in the live chat. Heo Swerison says iPhone 16 Pro has a faster interface, pics are better, battery lasting longer, improved sound, mic, and hearing. He believes it's worth it for sure. I mean, I guess it's worth it to the person coming from maybe a 14 or earlier. I don't know if it's worth from 15. But Teo says if you're exchanging your old phone, you're only paying about $500 or so. And Teo says, Omar, I wonder if this is true, if you agree with this one. Teo says it interacts with Tesla better too.
I don't know about that.
Okay, maybe Teo can give us some details about what he means by how it interacts with Tesla. In the meantime, Yoda?
Yeah, I mean, again, I hope you can hear me from my six.
Can you guys hear Yoda?
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, the original iPhone needed a killer app, right? And that was the browser, the internet connection. You can now browse the web. And I think AI has reached a point where it can be this next killer app. Now, how it, is brought to life on the phone needs to be, really rethought from the ground up. And so this is why I think, Sam and Johnny is working on something.
Thank you. Scott.
The iPhone since the iPhone 3G. I didn't get the first one, but I got everyone since. And I upgrade every year too. I'm kind of like Omar. Why do I do it every year now? Because it is practically the same phone. But my guess for the button, when you hold your phone taking a picture and it's landscape, it's nice to have, so you're not trying to tap on the screen, so you can just tap the button there. I'm assuming they'll add features for that as to why they did it. It does definitely have a better battery life. I have the Max, the 16 Pro Max. I'm talking to you right now with my AirPod Pro 2s, connected to my iPhone on how good I sound, but I use it for meetings all the time. And I primarily do that so that way I can have the noise canceling so I don't hear other people and they can hear me clearly. So I do really like it. Could I have the same with iPhone 15 Pro Max? Probably, but I did notice that my battery was wearing down some, but I'm on my phone all day, every day. And so I think it was just wearing out. So that's why I just traded it in. I think I have to pay 470, I think. Um, with the trade-in after you get your money back, I'm going to be shipping my 15 Pro Max back to Apple here this week. But that's my take.
Thank you. The real Zyrtec says only the last few iPhones support ultra wideband. That helps with Tesla tracking how close the iPhone is.
Yeah, my iPhone 15 had that too.
Okay, great. And Teo says, regarding the Bluetooth streaming of alternative source of media, for me, Sirius XM, the iPhone 15 Pro was a pain. The last update across all the phones improved AirPods greatly. Interesting. Let's go to Rich and Yoda.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick perspective on the button on the side. If you look at how popular the Rabbit was at CES at the beginning of the year, the concept of just kind of pointing and clicking at something, I think that's the direction that they're moving. And if you kind of look at what they are doing with the control center, they're creating more surface for deep actions into apps, which then the action button and the camera button are going to be those direct connections into app specific functions that you won't have to go into apps. So they're kind of getting us ready to be this AI interaction model.
Thank you, Yoda.
Omar, can you educate us on kind of the technical specs required to run a high quality LLM model on an iPhone? I know it can, do that for maybe much smaller models, but I'm trying to think about kind of if there's any technical step changes that can help with that.
I mean, an iPhone can run a LLM just fine, assuming it fits within the resource constraints of the phone. Like your iPhone can run Llama 7 billion parameter version, great. It's not going to be as fast as a Mac or an H100, but all Apple devices have a section of the chip called the neural engine, and this accelerates the inference of AI models, similar to what you see with the Tesla AI chips.
Thanks. So to run more, larger models, more sophisticated models, multimodal models, potentially that is one area for breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean, what Apple's really done is they've trained this sort of Apple LLM and then they've fine tuned it to specific tasks. So every feature on the operating system, like for example, summarization or generative AI, they've fine tuned a specific model for that feature so that they can run it on your phone as fast as possible. So they're really they're rather than really focusing on one big model, they have a lot of smaller fine tuned models that are highly performance optimized to run on your device with minimal battery drain.
Okay, thank you. We have a lot to talk about today. We are coming up to 1 hour. It really helps if you're watching this on YouTube to like the video. It helps with views, bringing new viewers to the channel, and also with cost per mil as well. So it helps add revenue quite a bit. So please take a moment to like the video. And if you're listening next, you can go up to the top of your screens and click to the link at the top and do so as well. Thank you, everybody. All right. Elon says his companies are looking to invest in Argentina. Omar, we have a new love affair here with Elon and other countries, Argentina and also Italy as well. Are we going to see new Tesla factories in the coming years in these countries, you think?
There might be some deals that could be made. You know, I think the expansion into South America is inevitable. So, yeah, I mean, Elon seems to be meeting with more world leaders than the sitting president, Joe Biden. It's kind of interesting. Um, clearly he is one of the most influential, powerful, and well-connected people in the world. If you're trying to remake the energy supply chain of the global economy, this is the guy you want leading your company. He needs some lithium, natural resources, a new place to put a factory. He makes a few calls and he can be talking to the president of that country. So it is good to see. And I think BYD has had a lot of success in South America. So Tesla's entry into the market is inevitable. And I think these new lower cost models that are coming this year might be a good time to start pushing into markets that Tesla hasn't touched before, like Asia and South America.
Yeah, you mentioned BYD. That was also next on my item list for today. Chinese exports are rising around the world, especially number one, Russia, number two, Mexico, and number three, UAE. And also, BYD is investing into a ship fleet. It's building its own fleet of ships to move around the cars. They just, I think, acquired their second ship as well, which I don't think Tesla is doing. And I don't know if Tesla wants to do that. Tesla has manufacturing facilities on all major continents now, in Europe, in China, in US. That's also an interesting distinction between the two companies' strategies. Omar, what do you think about that? That BYD is building a fleet of ships, whereas Tesla is building global manufacturing capacity.
I mean, it is interesting. That is a crazy level of vertical integration, but I think, kind of reflects a different focus. My parents, they're trying to see 100 countries. They're trying to visit 100 countries. So recently they found themselves in Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and other Eastern European countries. And they were just BYDs all over the place. And people were actually like, "Oh, we love Tesla. Like Tesla's seen as way higher quality." They say these BYDs, piece of junk, they last 2, 3, maybe 4 years max. The Tesla's going to last you 10 plus years. But there are just BYDs all over the place. The cabs, they have these green cabs, and BYD is just shipping these cars into markets that you haven't even heard of, that Tesla isn't even thinking about. Okay. So they're doing a really amazing thing. And places like South America, places like these Eastern European countries, a cheap electric car is amazing for them. In some of these countries, they don't have a lot of car options and they're not really affordable.
In other traditional legacy auto news, and to me, BYD is a legacy automaker. Okay. In other news, Stellantis is looking to replace its CEO. Stellantis is searching for a new CEO, they announced. Apparently 18 months before the current CEO's contract is up. So we might be seeing some leadership changes at Stellantis. They're negotiating with the labor unions as well. Seems to be a pretty heated debate over there. Toyota is buying back stock. Omar, did you hear about this? Toyota is buying back 4% of its stock. I don't think they realize the level of disruption that's about to hit them. Led by Tesla, EVs, autonomy, as well as from others as well. I mean, BYD is taking share away from Toyota in China. So I think Toyota is going to prove the saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And to face that and then buy back 4% of their shares is kind of crazy to me. What do you think about that? All right, great comments. Let's see. VW partnering with Google on a virtual assistant for its cars. VW owners will be able to ask questions about the vehicle and get information using Google starting next year on certain models. I thought that was interesting as well. Omar, what do you think about that? Do you think VW is now competing with Grok using Google?
I mean, these poor guys, they just have no clue what they're doing. Herbert Diess already got fired over Cariad, and they just cannot figure out how to build software. Trying to get a 100-year-old car company to figure out how to make software is like trying to get your grandma to learn how to use or ride a motorcycle at 95. It's not going to end well. And they're just desperately looking for anybody to partner with to save them. But this is hurting their business bad. In China in particular, the fact that their cars are so far behind on software is really the reason why sales are struggling so much in that market.
Yeah, VW and Toyota, I think, are going to be pretty interesting to watch stories. And Stellantis. I mean, these three are major global automakers. Stellantis, VW, and Toyota. Keep your eyes on it. And I'm going to dig into the financials in videos of those three companies. All right, let's see. Tesla China registrations. We just got data this morning for last week. James Catt appears to be very bullish about Q3 deliveries led by China. People are speculating more than 475,000 deliveries for Q3. I think that's a stretch. I think that's setting the expectations a little too high. But regardless, it's going to be a record Q3, it seems. We still have a few more days to go. But so on the deliveries front, things seem to be progressing well. Ben Kello was on TV today talking about deliveries and the robotaxi event. He assigned the recent increase in the stock price to two events. China deliveries looking good, and Tesla is getting ready for the robotaxi event. We'll see what happens in the coming days leading up to the robotaxi event. On the other hand, Omar, SEC intends to seek sanctions against Elon. Have you seen that news?
Yeah, I did.
I think they're trying to get him to testify about Twitter, and I think Tesla team rescheduled a couple of times, and now SEC is trying to get sanctions against him. Do you think this is material for Tesla investors?
No, I don't think it's material for Tesla investors. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, is doing an investigation into why Musk didn't file his form on time. When you take a stake in a company that's more than a certain percentage, you need to file a form to inform the public of this. And this form was filed a couple days late. So this delayed the time that the market was informed, and then, the price would have been much higher if people knew that he was accumulating shares. So they're doing an investigation into why the form was filed late. Did he have any knowledge? Did he tell them to do it? Was it just a mistake? I don't know why the form was filed late myself. I've never asked him, but they want to interview him about it. And they had agreed for a date for him to come in and do the interview about it. But then they had the launch of the Polaris Dawn mission, so he didn't go. They're now going to the judge and asking for sanctions. Sanctions is basically a penalty. So, like a fine or some type of other restriction or punitive measure that you get when you don't do what, you're not going along with what the court is needing you to do. So they're asking for sanctions. Tesla, or not, sorry, Tesla, but Elon's lawyers went and said, look, he had the Polaris Dawn mission. We already rescheduled the interview for a different day. He's going to do it. He just couldn't do it that day. So I think you guys are being a little dramatic here. We'll see if any, sanctions are imposed. It could maybe be like a fine or something. If the judge decided to do it, or they could just say, okay, if he is actually going to sit down and do uh, the deposition, then it doesn't matter. So I don't think it's all that material yet. I mean, it could be material if they, um, find that he there was some wrongdoing on his part, maybe. But I don't think they would try and pursue a DNO ban or anything that would be relevant to Tesla. That would, probably seem like overkill for a forum. Probably what I would think would be the remedy if they did find that there was wrongdoing is to fine him a percentage of the gains. So you try and calculate what were the savings to him by not doing the form, and then you just fine him by some percentage of that amount, or even the full amount, or maybe even a little more than that amount. But it could be that someone just forgot to file the form and Elon had no idea. And in that case, there wouldn't really be any wrongdoing on his part.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on any of the topics we discussed? Please request to speak. All right. In other China news, Chinese economy seems to be doing worse than people realized. And therefore, this morning, PBOC, People's Bank of China, moved in a major way to boost macroeconomics in China. So we'll see what the effect is, but apparently the Chinese stocks have reacted very positively with a biggest gain in, I believe, 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how that impacts, but people have been waiting for a major move, a monetary move by China to support the economy. So maybe this will make the difference. And of course, that may have implications for Tesla sales in China as well. All right. Omar, were you able to check out the Gemini at Work event before this space?
I read the blog post. Seemed like a fairly minor set of updates. They've got like a turbo version of their model or something. I don't really use Gemini personally.
Yeah. I canceled my advanced Gemini as well a couple of days ago. Just using more Grok and ChatGPT at this point. All right. So that covers that. Let's see what else we got here. On the macro front, this morning we got September consumer confidence numbers that was dramatically lower than expected at 99 versus 104 expected and 106 prior. So consumer confidence in September doing worse, weakest since July 2022. And there's a subindex called present conditions, was weakest since March 2021. All right, any other comments, questions? Please request to speak or let me know in live chats. We have FSD steering wheel free nags, nag free versions going out. to about, I think, 20-25% of the fleet, is my understanding. Omar said earlier that there is a wider version going out in the last few minutes, so check your cars. JC, how is FSD doing for you these days?
It's doing great, Yaman. One thing I didn't mention the other day is on Sunday, I gave it the biggest test I can possibly do, and that's my mother-in-law, 80-year-old mother-in-law, and yeah, she loved it. I took her about 35 miles from up here in Northeast Houston metro area down to Pasadena, which is in the Southeast area. Went through a couple of different complex areas, and she was amazed at it. So now again, I posted that up there as well. You may need a translation part of Grok to get a lot of it, but nah, it's been excellent. I haven't had the only intervention I've had since I've had the Nagless FSD is when I put it through the gauntlet at the airport for that quick accelerator push, which takes me to like Omar's point as well, is like define, like we have these terms: critical disengagement, non-critical disengagement, intervention, and I think they all kind of get, we don't have like consistent definitions of what things are like. So all I've had is an accelerator push, and that's it.
Thank you, JC. Omar, do you go by a definition? I mean, I've gotten this feedback from a number of people in the replies and in the space that they wish there was a more specific definition of these disengagements.
Yeah. There is no definition. I mean, it's incredibly subjective what is wrong and what is right.
I've seen Waymo use a couple of different definitions. Accident that deploys airbags or police reported, but that's hard to track from a Tesla community perspective, obviously. So
The key thing that you want to minimize is safety critical interventions. So safety critical intervention is if you didn't do something, there would have been a crash. So other things, for example, it's driving in the slow lane. I wanted to drive in the left lane. That's a different story. You can push the blinker. That's fine. You can take over and get in that lane yourself. Safety critical, that's really the thing we want to minimize. And for me, it's probably somewhere around 1,000 now, I think, which means, days and weeks without having a safety critical intervention. The interventions I do see are things like, maybe a minor accelerator press or something like that, but even most drives don't even have that. So really you want to look at safety critical interventions, and a safety critical intervention is really only something where there truly would have been a crash. And not even if you thought there might be a crash, but there wasn't, that's not really a safety critical intervention either. It's only, okay, this would have been a crash. Like the question we're really trying to answer here is, if we sent this out as a robo-taxi today, would it crash more than a human driver would, or would it crash less? And it's very clear right now that the answer is more if we sent it out unsupervised.
I know JC agrees with that. Lincoln, what do you think? You tend to be you were skeptical of the progress of FSD for a while. I think you've gotten more bullish about it lately. What's your miles between safety critical disengagements?
I don't really measure that. If I'm gonna guess, I mean, safety critical.
I mean, you just drove from Vegas to Salt Lake City on the highway. How many safety critical interventions did you have?
I don't remember. Maybe one, I think. But overall, it was really good.
How many miles was it?
How many miles is that? 300, 400? I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I think
Yep.
most people agree that the distance between safety critical disengagement is probably in the hundreds of miles of range. And in certain areas, like Omar's area, where you have a higher concentration of Teslas and Tesla team may have more experience solving those edge cases, it can be about 1,000. But I think most people agree the kind of central tendency is around several hundreds of miles per safety critical disengagement. And safety critical defined as it's going to get into a crash. Like you weren't just close. And honestly, like even if it's just like I mean, to me, like as far as I'm concerned, the definition of safety critical: are you going to die? Like, is it going to be a serious injury or death? You know, because a lot of the kind of like if you hit your bumper, those don't get reported to the police, so you can't really compare it to a human driver. I think the only way you can compare is going to get reported to the police, to an insurance company. Is it a serious injury or death kind of disengagement? All right. The real Zyrtec in YouTube live chat says, OpenAI Twitter 1 minute ago tweeted, so a few minutes ago tweeted, advanced voice is rolling out to all Plus and Team users in the ChatGPT app over the course of the week. Advanced voice. I'm not sure what advanced voice means though, but let's get Lincoln's comment real quick, and then I'll ask Omar about
Sorry, I just wanted to go back to FST for 1 second, if that's all right. I'm going for my first 12.54. I'm one of the 3% that got it. And I've been 12.36 since February, March. So it just finished installing. I'm going to lunch, so I'm actually pretty excited about it. It'll be interesting to see how different it is.
Did you get ass?
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
What did you get, JC? When you got your update on your AI 4?
I got 12.5.1.2, but 12.5.4 wasn't going out yet. I don't even think Omar had it yet.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know. I'm excited.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you, Lincoln. All right, back to advanced voice functionality. In the meantime, we have 50 likes on YouTube. If you want the space to go longer than 2 hours, let's see if we can break yesterday's record. Yesterday, we reached 199 likes. Let's see if we can break through 200 today. You can do so through the link at the top of your screens. Omar, what do you think about this advanced voice feature on the ChatGPT app? What is that supposed to be about?
Yeah, this is the new voice feature with their multimodal model that outputs audio directly rather than outputting text and just having some, text to speech reader read it. So it's going to be much more natural for conversations. It's that demo they did several months ago. They never shipped it until now. So it's going to be super exciting to get to play with this. I haven't even tried it yet.
Why do you think it took several months to ship it? Is it safety related? Did they have to go through some sort of regulatory approval process?
I think like any model, it can be very impressive while also still having glaring issues that would be embarrassing to ship. I think you also need a build out of inference capacity that was probably much larger than what even the text version of ChatGPT needs. So that's probably what took them several months.
All right. Anything else? Anything else you guys want to talk about? There was some Rivian news the other day, yesterday. Let's see. I think there was a production issue here with their Gen 2 R1 vehicles. So Gen 2 R1. Which could explain why the stock went down pretty rapidly on Friday if someone got a wind of it early on. Omar, you're still holding on to your puts on Rivian?
I went ahead and just closed.
You did. When?
I think the other day when they were up 30%.
Okay. So Sawyer tweeted this out. Rivian Gen 2 production slowed down due to issues with supplier, according to the CFO. This is an electricvehicles.com article. Let me just go through this real quick. This is the Gen 2 vehicle for R1 vehicles, not R2, okay? Jefferies analyst Felipe Hoches published Monday a new research note on the electric vehicle maker Rivian, following the firm's visit to the company's facilities in Palo Alto, California. Despite concerns over Rivian's Q4 gross margin break-even goal, Jefferies analysts reiterated a buy rating and a $17 price target on the stock, indicating a 45% upside in the shares. Quote, Rivian CFO Claire McDonough reviewed the broader investment case, the software JV with VW, and updated the group on the supplier shortage currently disrupting the Gen 2 production ramp, end quote, the analyst wrote. Quote, while we fear production issues may delay Q4 gross margin break-even, there you go. That's why it went down. While we fear production issues may delay Q4 gross margin break-even, we expect to see material improvement in variable costs in Q3, the analyst added. As supply challenges for the quarter ending this week, the firm says that at recent conferences in our meeting, management discussed issues with the supplier causing a shortage of components for the new Enduro motor. Continues to fuel internal debate between outsourcing and vertical integration. Claire the CFO, did not quantify the impact or when issues might be resolved. Rivian should communicate more at the time of Q3 results. Yeah, I mean, that explains why the stock is going down. Do you think they're going to reach gross margin positive in the future? Looks like they're kind of walking that back a little bit.
Yeah, wow, that explains the big drop we saw. They've been really banging the table on we're going to get gross margin positive by the end of the year. If they miss that, that's going to be embarrassing. And you remember that big gulp RJ took when they asked him on CNBC if he could do it. Now we're finding out why he gulped. So I mean, even if they achieved positive gross margins, they would still be burning so much on the OpEx side that their life would be measured in, several quarters. But if they can't even get gross margin positive, and now they have to ramp R2, and Volkswagen, who was supposed to bail them out, is struggling, it's not a great situation. So, they're blaming this on a supplier issue that they can't do it. Yeah, maybe it's a supplier issue. Maybe it's a Cybertruck issue. Maybe it's a Kia EV9 issue. The Kia EV9 is now outselling the Rivian R1S, and the Cybertruck is outselling the Rivian R1T. So I want to know more about the supplier issue. It sounds kind of like a convenient excuse when the real answer might be we're getting our actually smart summon kicked by Tesla and Kia.
In yesterday's AI amateur space, last night's AI amateur space, I forget who it was, but someone said, actually smart Siri is going to come to the iPhone. I was like, wow, that's genius. But Omar, what do you make of the fact that this stock, Rivian stock, went down Friday 10% on seemingly no news, and now we get the analyst report on Monday, and there's no further decline?
Well, it's hard to keep a secret these days when you got technology all over the place and people are messaging each other and they're on social media. You think the market is finding out about something when you find out about it? No, they already knew about it. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, what was the position? There was like some big government investigation into some company. She was selling calls. So you can often find out news before it happens that something bad is coming just by looking at the price action. As a matter of fact, Tesla's intra-quarter price action is a great predictor of production and deliveries. When you have a bad delivery report coming out, we might find out about it on the day of, but then you go, oh, okay, that explains the price action. And similarly, the price action we're seeing now, I think, could be a predictor of a much stronger quarter than most people are expecting. So the market knows a lot of stuff before you know it. When money is on the line, when you can make millions of dollars, people find out and they make it their job to find out.
So did you say the recent price action in the Tesla stock could be indicator of a very strong quarter?
I find that it often is. And it's very easy to do channel checks, right? You can just simply stand outside the delivery center and just count how many deliveries there are. And that kind of thing is going to be a really good predictor of what sales end up being, right? So when you can make millions of dollars on a trade being right, people go and they spend even hundreds of thousands of dollars to go find out the right answer and try and beat the market. That's kind of the amazing thing about the market.
All
And the
right,
same applies
let's
for Rivian as well. You can stand outside
yeah,
the factory and see if they're having an issue.
yeah. Where do you see strength in Q3? Is it production, deliveries, margins, energy, or something else? And the same question for those watching on YouTube. Please leave a comment in live chat with your guess for Q3 deliveries. Omar, where do you see strength? What do you think the stock price indicating? Where do you think market can be surprised with Tesla's Q3?
Well, I think the China numbers have been particularly strong, which is surprising given the weakness in the Chinese economy. So you take the strength in the Chinese market and you combine that with the fact that the Chinese government and the PBOC is now applying stimulus. I think that's going to continue into the fourth quarter. US is also very strong with these promotions. I think FSD is also increasing attention, increasing sales in the markets that have it in the US and Canada. Europe is not so strong, but I think that could improve in the future with some of these newer, smaller models. So really, energy is going to be a positive. China is going to be a positive. The US is going to be a positive. We've got an easy comp with the year over year quarter, given the production difficulties. So it could quite, I think the consensus is somewhere around 460, which is probably where I'm at too. But it could be a record quarter, especially when you look at some of these incentives they've started putting, like $0 down on a new Tesla. Just anecdotally, how many people I'm hearing from who are getting new Teslas. I mean, Lincoln got one, Rob Maurer got one, JC just got one, Diana got one. Those are all, you see the number, this many 100,000 Teslas. Those are the individual people who are upgrading. And honestly, a lot of this hardware 3 FUD, oh, hardware 3 is not going to get it. It's not going to work. I think it kind of pushed a lot of people over the edge to upgrade. So it may have kind of helped sales a little bit this quarter too.
Okay, so Omar says is maybe around 460, which is where the consensus is. We have a couple of guesses in live chat. Brandon says 469, 420. And Matt Sanko says 485,000 on the dot. I believe James Cat said more than 475,000. I believe he said 475,000 minimum. Hustletown says Q3 is on the back of China, 465,000 deliveries. Yeah, so everyone in YouTube live chat is taking above on the consensus. Omar is at consensus. Is there anyone on the board who thinks it's going to be less than 460? No. Okay. So it looks like we have a very bullish board. I guess that's not very surprising. Edward, what do you think?
I think that's about right. 450 to 460 is where I would go with. I don't think there's going to be any craziness to it. It's not going to be like 500 or something like that. It's just we still have high interest rates, so I think that's playing in too much.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at the all the loan rates that's ongoing with like in today's market. They're still very high. I mean, despite the cut, the long-term yields have moved up a little bit. Although credit spreads is the real issue on the other front. I think lenders are worried that people aren't paying their loans back when it comes to car loans. So,
Well, consumers don't care what the Fed funds rate is. They care about what the auto loan rate is. And if you're not a well-qualified buyer, that may be restrictive even in this environment. But if you do have good credit, Tesla's giving 1% financing, 2.5% financing. It really is pretty attractive. A lot of people are even rolling their old car loan in to the new low interest car loan. And that kind of alleviates that pressure a little bit. A lot of really financially savvy consumers who see interest as a waste of money, right? They don't have any problem paying for a nice car, but they don't want to pay for interest on the car, right? They know that's just a waste of money. So I think they really like these offers. That's part of why I'm hearing from some US friends like Lincoln who are upgrading. But it'll take some time before the Fed funds rate and auto loan rates actually fall enough that they can offer these incentives in a way that isn't uh, really hard on gross margins.
do you expect the Fed to continue to cut 50 basis points here?
I think they will cut at least another 50 basis points in the next 3 months. There's a chance that if the deterioration of the labor market and the economy is faster than expected, we could see more than 50 basis points.
Wait a second. Can you say that last part?
If things are worse than expected, there's a possibility we could see more than 50 basis points before the end of the year.
In the November meeting or the December meeting?
In either. So right now they're kind of penciled in for a 25 basis point cut at each. If things get worse, it could be appropriate to do a 50 basis point cut in one of them.
I think the market expectation is already 75 basis points total. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. See me, watch tool. And it's changing a lot with stock prices, which is kind of interesting. November, probability of the 50 basis point cut in November is now 59%, and the rest is 25 basis point cut. So people are already, market is already slightly expecting a 50 basis point cut in November. And then the median expectation for the end of the year is a total of 75 basis point cut. That has a probability of 49%. And there's a bit of an increase today, even lower. So 100 basis point total cut now has 1 in 3 chance. That's interesting too. This week we're going to get the PCE data for August. We already have a pretty good idea of that. And then next week we're going to get the unemployment numbers. And the following week we have inflation numbers and then the election. So it's going to be a pretty volatile on news front, which I think is kind of keeping people offsides a little bit in terms of putting additional money into stocks. But Tesla seems to be dodging that trend. All right, anything else we're going to discuss? Anything else? Questions, comments? Let's check the like count on YouTube. 59 likes, guys. 59 likes. It doesn't look like we're going to go above 2 hours today. Any other questions, comments? Lincoln?
It's so incredible being able to sit here and not have to touch the wheel. This is my first time
I can't hear
experiencing
Lincoln.
it.
Hold on.
It's really crazy. Very, very cool. Like it's just doing it, and I don't have to I was in the parking lot. I push a button, and that was it. I didn't have to hit forward or back. I just hit the brake. It's like, all right, we're going forward, as it knows, and then I push the button and it just drives me around. It's really a cool experience. And it also, this doesn't happen much. I hear that other people say this, but it like hit the brakes pretty hard through a construction zone. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And then I saw a guy to my left that I did not see crossing. And I just sat there and waited, and he went across. He waved to the car. He thought it was me, but he waved to Elon and whatever, and was grateful I didn't hit him. So very cool. Hustle Town.
I just wanted to ask Omar, is it still a party trick? Is ass still a party trick, or is it graduated?
It's a much better party trick, and it is potentially useful for some scenarios that don't happen all that often to me.
I mean, I think it's going to have to get much faster to not be a party trick. That's the main thing that has to change in my opinion.
It got a lot faster with this update. So before you had to,
I thought you said the maximum speed is still the same.
well, yeah, that kind of faster, but in terms of the time it took to actually start moving before you'd push the button, then you'd wait like 10 seconds. And then first it would go backwards, then go forwards, sometimes for no reason. Now it just starts moving towards you. So, when you have a feature that's theoretically saving you some time, but then takes 15 seconds to start moving, that kind of makes it useless. Now with this new performance optimization and the latest update, it's become a lot more useful.
Scott and Rich Bira.
So with the 12.5.4, does it actually pull into driveways better or parking spots? A lot of times, like with 12, I think I just got the 12.5.2.1, and I think it still just takes you. I mean, it doesn't do a very good job once you get to your parking spot or driveway. So just wondering if there's been an improvement on that aspect.
Not really. I mean, it's pretty much the same. You can use auto park obviously to park into a spot, but it
So,
kind of just tries to pull over. In some cases, it may pull into a driveway, but it really is just kind of trying to get out of the way of traffic when it ends and then relying on you to turn on auto park. They did mention in the roadmap that it's going to start parking itself and unparking itself in, I think, October.
That makes sense. I was just kind of curious.
Rich.
But I have noticed there's a lot of improvement in parking garages and parking scenarios. It's able to navigate, for example, underground parking garage much better than previous updates.
Rich.
Hey, so I was, this is a topic I know you guys were talking about before, but I just jumped on and I was reading through this AMCI testing website. If you could give me a quick rundown, were you guys saying it was positive or negative, what these guys were posting?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, and you can go back and listen to it. You can't come into this space late and expect us to recap what we discussed already.
Well, I had just found, I just did a little research on the person that was posting those videos, and he's Legacy Auto. He posts a lot of negative stuff on LinkedIn about Tesla and Musk. So I'm just not knowing how much independence this person has. So I didn't know if you guys uncovered that, but I had just seen it while I was reading through it. So.
Okay. Can you give us details? What is his name and what's his connection to Legacy Auto?
Yeah. So the guy that wrote one of the articles, his name is Ian Beavis. And if you look on LinkedIn, he's the chief strategy officer for AMCI. His history, legacy, he worked for The Nielsen company, he was which Global Automotive Group. Before that, he was at Kia Motors. He was at Mitsubishi Motors, product planning. Then when you look at his posts, he, the Tesla semi-fire, another example of, the charging network failing. So, I mean, you could just go on. I mean, he's literally like almost every day posting something bad.
So it's basically like Fred.
Okay, Rich, that's really good to know. Thank you very much.
All right. It just,
I mean, also, I think the more relevant part that he pointed out is they work for Legacy Auto. They perform testing jobs for Legacy Auto. So they also mentioned on their website that they do independent testing of other companies' vehicles for other automakers. So who paid them to do this? Are they just doing this to promote themselves as sort of a marketing thing? Or did a competitor actually commission this? And then obviously if a competitor commissioned it, you're going to want to make it sort of make them look good and soothe their nerves a little bit. So that is sort of important context to view it through as well.
Okay, good. Good information. I'm going to look into that further. We can discuss that tomorrow as well. And thank you very much, Crunch, the Grace Hopper, for letting me know that the link at the top was wrong. That was to last night's AI amateurs space, which explains in parts why people are having difficulty. So I corrected the link at the top to the YouTube video of this episode. Please take a moment to go up to the top of your screens if you're listening next to like the video on YouTube. It really helps with a number of metrics. We're trying to grow to get to positive contribution margin. Positive contribution margin for Tesla Live. We have to get to more than 1,000 likes per episode. More than 1,000 likes per episode and 10,000 subscribers is a major milestone for Tesla Live. So I need your help to get there. Can't do it on my own. So thank you very much, everyone, for taking the moment to go up to the top of your screens and give this video a like. All right. Crunch also says FSD, his FSD 12.5.2.1 does great backing into a spot, but you need to wait for the P indicator. The Y went straight into a curb on his first summon try, very unlike the old V11 from years ago. All right. Dodge Army General says when referring to Toyota buybacks, he says when you can't grow the business organically, you can financially engineer stock appreciation with buybacks. The one recent observation I had with these companies that announced major buybacks, including Microsoft and now Toyota, the stock prices aren't reacting to these buyback announcements in a positive way. So I think that's a very meaningful something to keep in mind looking forward. Because in the past, when companies announce tens of billions of dollars of buybacks, these are major, major buybacks. I mean, when you're buying back 4% of your company, that's a big deal for a company like Toyota. And if you don't get a positive reaction by the market, that should tell something to management. Okay. Not all stock buybacks are created equal. Stock buybacks only add value if you're buying the stock at a lower price than your intrinsic value. If you're buying it above intrinsic value, then you're actually destroying value. Okay, so this is very, very important. And I think it can have some meaningful, this can be a meaningful indicator for these companies that I don't think managements realize. Omar, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
They're taking their cash and they're buying garbage. At least if they bought toilet paper, they could wipe their actually smart summon with it. This Toyota stock's going to be worth less than that as autonomy rolls out across the world.
Almost
Exactly.
on fire today.
Yeah, he's on fire every single day. Omar is great. Yeah, I'm going to be watching this quite a bit. I'm actually going to make a list of companies who recently announced major stock buybacks. I was especially interested in the one announced by Microsoft, because Microsoft, it's not like they don't have things they can do with their cash, right? All these companies are talking about how they need more training compute. Sam Altman, in his recent blog post, talked about you can't really reason about how much compute we're going to need. And Microsoft, on the other hand, is announcing $50-60 billion worth of stock buybacks. And yet this stock is down in recent days, I think, since they announced this stock buyback. In the last 5 days, Microsoft stock is down 2% now. And $60 billion, only 2% of their market cap. Toyota announced a stock buyback that's double that, 4% of their market cap, and Toyota stock is down 1% today. Flat in the last 4 days. Flat in the last month. Down 27% in the last 6 months. So we might be at a turning point about these stock buybacks. Interesting. All right, now that we corrected the link at the top, I see quite a bit of increase in engagement. Concurrent viewers high. We just broke the subscriber count, 2,100. We need to get to 10,000 to be positive gross margin, positive contribution margin. And the likes on the episode is 76. Positive gross contribution margin is a milestone that Rivian never achieved. And I think Tesla Live can get there by year end. So that's the goal. All right. Any other questions, comments? Let's see. John FSD Bull is posting links to the UNECE. I'm not sure what that is about. Omar, do you know what that's about?
Yeah, those are the regulations for ADAS that affect Europe and other countries.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Do we expect anything from that? Any positive news?
Yeah, there's major movement happening to approve hands-free ADAS in Europe. It's really happening. And it's going to be hands-free, no nag.
So European Tesla customers are going to go from the old autopilot stack, which is like 5-6 years old, to nag-free FSD.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a huge jump.
And they're going to get FSD 13.
That's going to roll out in the next few months, right? When do you expect FSD 13?
I think Tesla said October, so maybe November. It might actually ship. But who knows? Maybe they'll hit their deadline. They have been pretty good on the September portion. They've shipped almost everything except end-to-end on the highway and Cybertruck. And Elon's exchange with Ashok in the Cybertruck account suggests that it is actually going to ship on time in September. So I think for Europe, they said Q1. That could easily slip, especially with these regulatory things. Could be Q2, could be Q3. Hell, even if it happens in Q4, I'll consider that a huge win. But they are actually updating the regulations, which is great to see. And I think Ford Blue Cruise is already selling in some parts of Europe, or they're planning to launch. So hands-free will be legal and allowed in Europe finally.
Just a quick note on that. I think they're still working on that for this week. The UNECE is the GRVA team, I believe. And I'm not sure it's through yet, because the UK and Sweden apparently have kind of vetoed and last minute introduced some stuff that might limit it to highways that be not hands-free, or at least not in combination. It's not yet clear, I think. I don't know if there's any updates on that yet, though.
Wait, are you saying Sweden is blocking this development? I need
As far
Alexander
as
on
I
the
know,
board.
yes.
Alexander, I see you in the listening mode. Come up, defend your country. This is ridiculous. Laraffle, am I pronouncing that correctly, first of all?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you've been following this topic, I'm assuming. Where are you located, and what can you tell us about it? But before that, let's go to Alexander, and let's see. Alexander, I know, so you speak for Sweden, the country, for the entire population. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm very disappointed to hear that Sweden should stop something like this, and I will take action as a strong Swede that I am, and I'm gonna stop this. I promise.
Okay, Alexander said he's going to single-handedly solve all of Tesla's FSD problems in Europe, and if he doesn't, I'm going to take action against you, Alexander. There you go. Rollout, I had to mute you because we were getting some background noise, but can you tell us a little bit about background on how long you've been following this and what are some of the milestones that we should be looking for? But please unmute yourself before you go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based in Austria. I've been following this on an unregular basis and have tried to look up what documents on the UNECE I can find. The regulation is long, to say the least. And there has been a last-minute proposal from the UK and Sweden specifically. The concern would be that the leap to go hands-free and city driving and system-initiated maneuvers, that leap may be too big a leap, and because there's not enough experience yet in that market, which the US and Germany and other countries said, wait a minute, but I think this is what they are discussing at this very moment. The meetings are still running until Friday, I believe.
Alexander?
Yeah, I think Tesla needs to apply to get this FSD in Sweden by talking to the Board of Traffic, I think it's called. And I've asked them a couple of months ago if they had received any communication from Tesla, and they said no.
I mean, is there anything we can do in this space to help Europe along, FSD in Europe along, Alexander or Larafu?
Yeah, you can play ABBA all day long, and that should solve the problem, I think.
Wait, what's ABBA?
Seriously? Seriously?
Oh, come on, y'all.
What's ABBA?
What is it? I don't know. I haven't eaten anything all day today. Am I missing
One of the
something?
greatest bands in the 1970s.
Do you
Oh.
want me to sing?
Dude,
I
I'm
can
like,
sing.
I wasn't even born.
Queen.
No, you can't do that. You cannot do that.
Dancing Queen.
Go,
No.
go.
Nobody play the music, okay? That demonetizes YouTube. I will come after you.
I know my singing's that good that you thought I was playing the music, but that's just my voice.
Yeah. Your voice is too good for the space. Okay. Yeah, 70s. I don't know anything about 70s now. I was born later than 70s. ABBA.
Is there a beef between Turkey and Sweden or something?
Let me see. No, there isn't. But now they're about to be if they're going to keep FSD from Europe. I will bring in the entire 80 million population of Turkey into this space. Alexander. Turkish people are very passionate about, topics that matter. And on social media, they really organize quite a bit. They're also big fans of Tesla and Elon.
We have many Turks in Sweden, actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, JC?
Yeah, so Alexander, you're telling me that a country that 1,000 years ago used to get on rickety boats across the North Sea and raid every damn village all across the North Atlantic. And now, 1,000 years later, they're afraid of FSD on a city road and need a nag. What in the world happened to y'all?
Yeah, I have no response to that. Obviously, that's not good. I agree.
Isn't this the same country, Alexander, that was giving Tesla an issue with the unions the other day, a couple months ago?
Yeah, it's EF Metal. When I was checking out the Cybertruck in Gothenburg, EF Metal had like a pop-up tent outside, and employees of Tesla hanged a banner outside that said, "No thanks, we good."
Yeah. Well, this is not good. They're blocking manufacturing. They're blocking deliveries. They're blocking FSD. I thought Sweden was supposed to be a neutral country. What's going on here? Omar, what do you
That's
think?
Switzerland.
Aren't they both kind of neutral?
Switzerland is the more famous for being neutral one. I don't know. Sweden, I don't know.
Sweden is a member of NATO now, so we are not neutral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that someone from Volvo called up their representative and said, this is not good. We need some regulation. And then you remember, like, Tesla was actually giving, was it the Swedish or the Swiss? I think it was actually the Swiss. But they may have been giving a ride to someone, maybe because of some of their objections. Ultimately, what I think this comes down to is European competitiveness, right? The United States and Canada have this technology. Very soon, China's going to have this technology. Now, there's a country that may actually have it approved in Q1. And that leaves Europe as far behind in terms of the AI that's available on the market there in cars. That's going to lead to more crashes than there would be otherwise. And you look at, so many people in the EU have started to look at European competitiveness. And they said, look at the rate of startup formation in the US and China. Look at the amount of PhD research being put out, groundbreaking research coming from each of these regions. Europe is becoming less and less competitive. And it's because of this attitude of, oh, I don't know, can we do it? We need to do a ton of meetings and we got to have Switzerland meet with France, meet with Sweden, meet with Germany. And, we need to have like send people from all over the world together to figure it out. It is fine. It's ADAS. It's supervised. This is actually going to reduce distracted driving because of the cabin camera, because it's so strict. So really, this just comes down to European competitiveness. This has become a bigger and bigger issue. And I'm hopeful that the regulators will make the right choice here and side with European competitiveness. Put the right restrictions in to make it safe, but don't fall behind the rest of the world.
Yeah. All right, we have 7 minutes to go, and the like count right now is 85. We need to get to 200, break yesterday's record to keep this going. So take a moment to scroll to the top of our screens and like this video. Let's keep this show going beyond 2 hours. I need everyone in the space to do that right now. In the meantime, Alexander, defend for us why Sweden is holding the world's transition to sustainable energy back.
I don't know. We like 80% of our power comes from renewable, so I don't know about that. But Volvo actually have been trying to solve full self-driving for like 10 years, and they haven't managed. So maybe it's that they are cranky because they can't solve it, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like countries with their own legacy automakers are giving Tesla a hard time. Bull 2035 and that Chris.
Hey, Alexander, I think you'll recall this, most probably won't, but in 2015 and 16, Volvo announced a program called Drive Me, which was supposed to give Volvo autonomous throughout Sweden or parts of Sweden. And that program apparently failed. Do you know what happened with that program?
No, but they had actually have had like a autopilot for some years. I've actually had a Volvo V60 diesel that had autopilot, and it worked fairly well. But Tesla's autopilot is much better, in my opinion.
Just a brief question on this topic of EU regulations. Would Italy be able to create their own regulations, or are they basically in a compact where they are required to obey by whatever the laws are that the EU puts into place related to full self-driving? I have not gotten a clear answer on this.
No.
So no as in they're not required?
Exactly. They like most EU regulation is more like a recommendation more than law. But some things we need to follow, but some things not. Like, for example, European Union tried to ban our precious snus, if you know what that is, for years, but Sweden said no.
Le Raffle, what is the most likely outcome here? When will Europe get FSD nag-free?
That is a very good question. I am not confident in answering. My best guess would be that this is a kind of fighting meeting where we still have a chance to get it, but it looks to me to be unlikely. And the next date to discuss this and work on the proposal in the meantime would be, I believe, March of 2025, which would then be voted on also in March or April or something. And after a 6-month waiting period, the regulation would go live. So we would be talking about late 2025 if we need another step.
Okay. In YouTube live chat, Hustle Town says Europe nag-free FSD end of Q2 2025. Le Raffle, most likely end of 2025. But things are moving, I guess, very slowly in the right direction. Le Raffle, is there anything we can do to accelerate that?
I guess if you really wanted to, you could pressure the UNEC and the governments.
UNEC and the government. Which government?
Everyone. Each of them has representatives in the UNECE. Yeah, I don't know. Make pressure. Do a social media thing. I don't know.
Omar, do you think is this something we can do?
Probably not, except maybe make memes, laugh at Europe for being behind. Apple's not launching their new AI products in Europe. You can't use FSD in Europe. So make memes about how old-fashioned they are and how they're falling behind, and maybe eventually they'll get annoyed and approve it.
All right. Any other questions, comments on this topic? Please request to speak. Otherwise, we're going to end it in a minute. Thank you very much for those of you who are taking the time to like the video. We're up to 99 likes, which is really good. YouTube channel is growing nicely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help on that front. All right. Let's call it a day then. Thank you very much, everybody. A quick shout out to my sponsors again, Joa, for sponsoring this episode, and Pay More. The links are at the top of our screens. Without our sponsors, amazing speakers, all of you on YouTube, liking, subscribing, commenting below the videos. I highly appreciate it. Without you, this space would not be free and open to every single person. Thank you, and I will chat with you tomorrow. Take care.